Hey now, we are getting over, and I am the Silver King, Adam Silverstein, coming to you live from a hotel room in Orlando to lead you through these hard times. Daddy, as we break down everything that happened in the world of WWE over the last week. Now, this is going to be a pretty unique episode of Getting Over. Things are shifted around, messed up, but I'm going to explain all of that to you in a moment. Before we get to that, we got to get to this. Of course, a reminder that the Getting Over Wrestling podcast
is all about the five.
So please, folks,
stop being marks for yourselves and go back to being a mark for me.
Go back to being marks for the Silver King, Adam Silverstein, Vintage Chris Vanini, and the entirety of the Getting Over Wrestling podcast. Head over to Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Leave a 5-star rating on Apple. Take a little extra time. Leave a 5-star written review. If you do, we will read it live right here on the show. Also, do not forget to follow us on social media at Getting Overcast on Twitter and Blue Sky. You get episode drops, news, analysis, highlights, all that good stuff. On YouTube, when you subscribe over there, you can listen to the shows and you can watch full-length video interviews. I should mention also on Twitter and Blue Sky, you can send in questions and comments for the show. Interact with us. No matter where you're listening, no matter where you're following, it's always at Getting Overcast. Now, Vintage Chris Vanini will not be on today's show for really a variety of reasons. First, we're coming off the College Football Playoff National Championship. Hoosiers, congratulations to Indiana going 16-0, undefeated. Incredible game, incredible team. Kirk Yeti, Fernando Mendoza, just tremendous work from the Hoosiers on Monday night and really the entirety of the season. But both of us were in South Florida at the game. I'll get to that momentarily. Silver King had to wake up super early and drive all the way to Orlando. Therefore, I didn't get to see Raw. Vintage, by the time he got to his hotel room, had to go to sleep. He had a flight back to Texas that was delayed. I don't know, a million things happened. We didn't even get into it. I was barely able to speak to him today. But he had a delayed flight. He had to do a connection, a whole bunch of stuff. So we couldn't time it out. We could barely watch the show. Silver King is taping this late Tuesday night. And again, this is coming off of Vintage and Silver King meeting in person for the first time, despite doing this podcast for the better part of 6 years. We had a few beers. We had some food over in Wynwood, a portion of the Miami area. We got to hang out at the national championship game on Monday. As I mentioned, we're going to talk about all of it this coming Friday morning when Chris joins the show to share his thoughts on WWE from the week. I will cover anything I miss from not having too much time to marinate on Raw and SmackDown in this episode. We'll answer any questions and comments from all of you that are lingering, and we will do our Saturday night's main event Ultimate Preview. So all of that is coming Friday morning, and that show will also feature the NXT and AEW breakdowns. So a loaded show for you on Friday, a little bit less loaded than usual on this special Wednesday morning episode. However, Silver King is still going to break down every single thing that happened across Raw and SmackDown as usual. In terms of WWE Unreal, we will attempt to watch all of it for next Tuesday's show, but that is a lot of wrestling viewing when we already have Saturday night's main event on Saturday, plus the NFL's conference championship games on Sunday. We will figure it out. Unreal Season 2 does seem more interesting than Season 1. Maybe we watch a couple episodes this week, and then we do the rest next week, and we talk about it in two different parts. I don't know. As I said, we will figure it out. There is plenty of performance-enhancing audio coming your way because in addition to this special Wednesday morning show and our special Friday morning show, we will indeed have your WWE Saturday night's main event instant analysis Saturday night as soon as that show goes off the air. So a ton of stuff to come, an extremely long week for Vintage and the Silver King, but this is what we do. We sit down in our chairs, we grab our mics occasionally on Saturday nights, crack open a cold one, and we just deliver performance-enhancing audio to your ear holes. Speaking of things that we do for you, we just started a brand new Slack room. So you now have the opportunity to not only interact with Silver King and Vintage, but other Getting Overheads. The link to our Slack room is available in our link tree. It's basically the link that is in our profiles on Twitter and Blue Sky. So you can find it. You don't even need to have those social media services to get the link. Just go to our profiles and the link is right there. Click it, go to Slack, do that as well. And since you're going to be in that link tree. There's another link there that you can click, and it is the one that reminds you.
I happen to love the number 5.
Because for only $5 a month or $50 for the entire year, guess what? You can become an official Getting Overhead. Just visit buymeacoffee.com/gettingover. Sign up. You'll get bonus audio, the fastest 5 minutes in professional wrestling, instant reactions to every major show, and exclusive news analysis posts every week. We just posted our last one on Friday. You've already seen some of those items hit. Again, buymeacoffee.com/gettingover. Support our show. We would greatly appreciate it. Now, look, it is early. We are only 21, 22 days into 2026. But London for SmackDown was the wrestling crowd of the year. It set a real high bar for a TV audience. As a whole, it was better than last week's show, SmackDown. It might have been the best of the 3 SmackDowns this year, just considering how much actually happened. The last hour was particularly great. It's still an uneven show because the women are booked like shit and the tag teams remain non-existent, but the improvements are obvious even as the show continues to frustrate. The setup for Raw in Belfast was awesome. Due to the arena format, the entranceway was particularly unique. In fact, it looks so cool. I really would not mind WWE doing something like that going forward for its regular TV. The crowd was also fantastic in Belfast. The only frustration I had, and I said this last week, was WWE treating Belfast like it was in Ireland. I'm pretty sure I heard Michael Cole even say it's 2 miles from Dublin. No, it's 2 hours from Dublin because, it's in an entirely different country. Beyond that, Eminem's Godzilla got a lot of run during bumpers throughout this show. The fact that I'm going to get a year of this is awesome. My favorite artist on what has largely been the best wrestling show over the last year and a half. So that pumps me up on Raw that I get to hear Eminem every single week. The show itself was really strong. Was it stronger than SmackDown? I think they were probably pretty close to equal this week. And you know what? That's a positive, although it would be nice if Raw didn't have to take a step down to be, on par with SmackDown. Nevertheless, we have an absolute ton to discuss on today's show. You're going to get Vintage's takes on all of this, or I shouldn't say all of it, the main topics from today's show this coming Friday, but you want to hear what the Silver King thinks. That's exactly what we're going to do right now. And we're going to kick it off, as we always do, by sliding into the main event.
This is the main event.
Drew McIntyre opened SmackDown with an enhanced entrance, including bagpipes, an effing shitload of pyro, the whole 9 yards. He got an awesome ovation and the soccer-style chants too. It was immense. WWE basically did whatever it could to make the title change feel like a big deal. This lasted more than 6 minutes, which meant nothing live happened on SmackDown until we were 12 minutes into the show. Did I give a damn? Not one bit. I ate this up with a spoon. This was straight up catharsis, considering it was the first time McIntyre has ever made an entrance in front of a live crowd with a world title. Yes, he did it in Glasgow. I'm talking about a live television crowd. This despite it being his 4th world title reign in WWE. Crazy when you think about that. It was confusing that WWE bleeped some chants that were not vulgar. And then he opened with,
"But I want you to know this. I prayed for this and it happened."
Which was perfect. McIntyre immediately turned the cheers into boos, saying the fans weren't there for him when Roman Reigns and CM Punk were screwing him over every week. He said the vanilla QB1 era is over and the dangerous, unpredictable McIntyre era begins because Cody Rhodes will not get a rematch as part of their contract. Randy Orton interrupted, reminding that he's defeated him for the title before and will do it again with an RKO. Unfortunately, that was pretty basic. Jacob Fatu then stormed to the ring, attacking McIntyre, no-selling a shot into the ring post as Drew ran away. As Orton enjoyed the moment, Miz caught him from behind with a skull-crushing finale. Badly wanted a McIntyre Fatu segment to follow up on the finish of last week's match, but I presumed and hoped that would come in due time. Orton being out there really did not accomplish much unless the idea was to put them in the same ring together because Randy is ultimately going to win the 4-way. McIntyre straight up aced his part. He looks awesome with the title. The entire upper card of the SmackDown men's division, it feels fresh for the first time in a long time. Everything else just felt supplemental in this segment though. McIntyre sold the fright of Fatu backstage, gripping the WWE Championship while looking over his shoulder. He came across Ilya Dragunov, who told him that he fights like an insane man. McIntyre reiterated that he was not at fault for the Fatu attack, probably appreciated this more than most considering I called out last week on this show how Drew was adamant that he did not attack Jacob previously, and his character may be a lot of things, but it's not a liar. So not only was this interaction between Drew and Ilya fresh, McIntyre standing 10 toes down and being convicted, that was appreciated by me. Cody opened hour 2 getting a legitimate mixed reaction, John Cena style. He even got interrupted after his opening salvo with Drew McIntyre chants. Rhodes got booed even louder when he said he was the fans' champion, but admitted that he had gotten predictable and McIntyre was good. Cody noted that he's one of a select few who have gone back-to-back in the Royal Rumble, and he was going to attempt to win a third by officially entering the match, the first person to officially enter the Royal Rumble. Not only did that get cheered, but Cody smartly stuck in a reference to London deserving a WrestleMania, and that got the fans even hotter. Rhodes then put over Fatu as legitimate talent, but promised him a receipt, whether Jacob wanted to come and get it or Cody had to go and find him. Expert level promo by Rhodes here. By the time he spiked the mic to accentuate his point, the entire crowd was singing, screaming his theme. That's twice now in the last 10 months that Cody, inside of only a couple minutes, has turned a crowd that was booing him into a group of fans vociferously cheering him. That is so ridiculously tough to accomplish, yet he does it every time it becomes necessary. I did find myself wishing that Cody went deeper into his anger at Jacob. He should have been red hot. He was cost the WWE Championship. But that was really my only note. It was otherwise a straight nail segment from Cody. Now, this part is a little bit out of place, but Kit Wilson entered after one of the number 1 contender qualifiers, getting a surprisingly massive pop with fans chanting his name when it was said during part of his song. He stared down Trick Williams, attacked Matt Cardona, called Cardona toxic, and literally celebrated with the fans afterward when his song went back on. So he's walking down the entranceway with his song. He stops, attacks Knight, the song goes off. Then he decides to continue celebrating or continue doing his entrance, and the song pops back on. Fantastic stuff. Following the break, he cut a promo saying it was clear the fans knew he was right about WWE being toxic. While he was able to finish the promo, Fatu showed up at the tail end, standing behind him, lording over him, super kicking his head off. Then he landed a senton and a double jump moonsault. He called out Rhodes, saying if he was going to put his name in his mouth, then he should go face-to-face with him. Cody answered for a real high-energy pull-apart brawl. And unless my Netflix was cut differently than all of you saw on USA Network, they literally cut away from the brawl without even a lead into the break for no good reason whatsoever. It was straight up asinine. Again, there is no sport in the world that would go to commercial while something like that is ongoing. It was then announced that they would be fighting at Saturday night's main event. Starting with Wilson, crazy what a quality entrance theme can accomplish. WWE was in London, so they were more predisposed to cheer for a fellow countryman than another crowd might have been, but still, it was kind of insane that he was so over. WWE might have its next Fandango. Now, Fandango. Hopefully, this is a wake-up call about the importance of entrance themes. The Jacob-Cody stuff, it was actually well done until it was not. Cutting away from it was idiotic, as I said. The match booking for Saturday night's main event, it makes perfect sense. But not having McIntyre, Fatu, or Rhodes address what Jacob did and why he did it on this episode was confusing. You have a 3-hour show. Can we really not get at least the start of an explanation to this end? That was immensely frustrating to me. Moving over to Raw, Gunther opened the show getting strong heat, and for the first time since the John Cena match, he actually cut a promo and said something. Gunther bragged about outsmarting AJ Styles last week, saying he was too focused on getting revenge for Cena, that he let his guard down, allowing Gunther to out-wrestle him and add another notch to his belt after putting Goldberg to sleep and making Cena tap out. He refocused on the World Heavyweight Championship and entered the Royal Rumble when Styles interrupted him. Both guys were in all black. Styles refused to move on, demanding a rematch at the Royal Rumble instead. Gunther declined and would not be goaded into accepting when AJ claimed Gunther was scared of him. Styles ultimately said he only had himself to blame because he showed mercy. Gunther clearly tapped out like a little bitch. Styles offered to move on if Gunther admitted that he basically lost to him, but Gunther reiterated that he's smarter and better, saying he has absolutely no incentive to wrestle him again, which is true. However, before Gunther fully left the ring, he came back and suggested there was one incentive that could get him to agree to a rematch. Styles putting his career on the line. AJ was rabid to accept until that stipulation was uttered, leaving him gobsmacked. Gunther demanded an answer by the end of the night. Adam Pearce later told Styles This was not something he had to do, and AJ said he would call his wife and talk it out. Styles later found Pierce and said his wife agreed. AJ had no choice but to kick Gunther's ass. Now, while we knew the Styles retirement storyline was going to be utilized in 2026, to repeat the word I just uttered a second time, I was relatively gobsmacked after this segment. I never would have guessed they would move to it immediately in this Gunther feud, to the point that his final WWE match might actually be at the Royal Rumble in less than 2 weeks. Now let's take this in two parts, the segment and what it might mean. I thought the opener was super strong. WWE had Gunther and Styles do exactly what I hoped last week, directly speak to the finish, with Gunther admitting what he did and Styles not letting him get away with it. Old WWE would have glossed over it and moved on, but it's clear this was purposeful to set this up. And that made me feel like I was justified in being patient and waiting to see whether they would do this to determine whether I liked it last week. Styles also sold everything quite well, so I found the face-to-face and the segment as a whole to be quite successful. The what it means aspect is so much tougher to parse, to the point that I legitimately have no idea what is going to happen next. On one hand, that's great. Wrestling is at its best when it's unpredictable. On the other hand, it actually worries me as a pessimistic fan on occasion that this might actually be it. And I suppose that is the point. We all know Styles is retiring in 2026. However, it was reported back in September that his contract expires, quote, around February 2026. And the Royal Rumble is January 31st. So is WWE actually speedrunning this? Was his last significant push a tag team title with Dragon Lee? Is that how Styles is going out 3 months before WrestleMania in Saudi Arabia, of all places? Why the hell would WWE do that? Why the hell would Styles want this to be his swan song in professional wrestling? The reason why I wanted to break this out is because as this segment wrapped, I came up with only 4 possible explanations for why this match was booked with this stipulation and how everything could transpire from here. Number 1, Styles told WWE he is going to sign with AEW before retiring. This feels the least likely, but it also makes the most sense if it is indeed his retirement match. WWE lets him exit in a big spot, triples down on Gunther. It also explains why Gunther hadn't done much while waiting for Styles to drop the tag team title so they could work into this. However, AJ previously said he would retire with WWE. He wants a job with WWE after his career is over. I think he said talent scout, and that this contract would be his last. Plus, just 2 weeks ago, he called a fan dumb for suggesting he finish his career in AEW. So that's number 1. Number 2, Styles is retiring from WWE because he's actually going to conclude his career with TNA, going full circle. He glanced hard at the TNA title during the AMC show last Thursday. He was in 2 different segments with their main eventers, Frankie Kazarian and Mike Santana. And WWE obviously has the TNA agreement, even if that's mostly for NXT. Styles could retire from WWE in January, then retire from wrestling in a couple months with TNA. Number 3, Styles is actually retiring from wrestling at the Royal Rumble. This is the most straightforward, obviously. This could be due to another injury or him just being done physically, not able to work. Perhaps he planned to stretch it out, but he cannot. The reason to do it now is to allow enough time to elapse so he can be inducted into the Hall of Fame class of 2026. Though, as we previously saw with Rey Mysterio, being an active wrestler does not preclude one from being honored, so I don't see why they would go this route. Number 4, this is purely a storyline to swerve the fans, to get them thinking retirement is coming in 2 weekends, engender even more passion behind Styles, kickstart his final run, and so on. The only problem with this is that Gunther should not be losing 6 weeks after making Cena tap out. However, they could do a similar fake-out finish to create the need for a rubber match, something like an Iron Man, best 2 of 3 falls, a huge bout for WrestleMania. Can you imagine Styles-Gunther 30-minute Iron Man match, 60-minute Iron Man match at WrestleMania? That would be incredible. They're not going to do a 60. They might do a 30. I'm leaning toward this being the case, not the Iron Man specifically, but this being pure storyline and his career does not end at the Royal Rumble. But again, considering there are 3 other legitimate options I just broke down, I'm really not sure. We will hear from Chris what he believes is going to happen on Friday's show, along with his takes for this entire main event. But what you're going to hear right now is the Silver King's take about his favorite current product on the market. You know what it is? It's NordVPN, because whether it is Raw, SmackDown, and NXT, or premium live events on Netflix, I am all in with NordVPN. And by the way, Saturday night's main event, you could watch it on YouTube for free rather than having to pay for Peacock. And not only that, it would be commercial free. NordVPN, it's easy to set up. It's a drastically better viewing experience each night with the same high quality streams, except Raw, SmackDown, NXT, Premium Live Events. They all become commercial free shows. And I promise you, as someone who just watched Raw on his computer on tape delay, I didn't have NordVPN loaded up. It was excruciating having to sit through commercials during a replay that I couldn't even fast forward. It was terrible. All you have to do is sign up at nordvpn.com/gettingover, open the app, quick connect to another country like the United Kingdom, open Netflix or YouTube when it comes to Saturday night's main event, and watch the program. And it's going to be crucial for the Royal Rumble too, because for those of you with Comcast or YouTube TV, you don't get it at all unless you pay for ESPN Unlimited. NordVPN also allows you to get around online censorship and surveillance, protect your private data when web browsing. Plus, one NordVPN account, it can be used on 10 different devices. So get the best discount. Go to nordvpn.com/gettingover. Our link will give you 4 extra free months off the 2-year plan. And there's no risk because Nord has a 30-day money-back guarantee. So improve your WWE viewing. Save money. Browse safer online. Avoid commercials. And get the best discount for the best VPN at nordvpn.com/gettingover. Now, we just covered the top topics from SmackDown and Raw, but we have an absolute ton left to break down from those 2 shows, and we're going to do it as we always do. The good, the bad, and the ugly.
Hey, yo. Survey says one more for the good guy.
Say hello to the bad.
Don't sing it. Bring it.
Judgment Day commiserated in the clubhouse. Raquel Rodriguez informed that Stephanie Vaquer is out indefinitely before guaranteeing she will take the women's world title off her when she returns. Liv Morgan led the segment, putting over both her and Finn Balor as future world champions. Then she turned to Roxanne Perez, admitting that she thought Roxy was a liar, a schemer, and shady as hell, before turning it, saying she's not just a prodigy, she's her prodigy and her friend. Perez promised to not let her down as they become women's tag team champions. Balor then firmly stated he will not leave his island without the World Heavyweight Championship. This was the best one of these in a while. We say this all the time because Judgment Day changes so much, but it actually felt fresh, this new alignment. Liv appeared to be the leader when she returned, and again here, 2 weeks ago it looked like Finn might be taking that role. Now they're mostly on the same page until some of them lose, presumably, and certainly it looked like one of those was going to happen on Monday night. This was an easy good. World Heavyweight Championship, CM Punk defending against Finn Balor. Punk backstage equated this match to hockey double overtime because, of course, he did. He said pressure would break Balor in the end. Balor later said he respected Punk as a fighting champion before questioning his judgment about agreeing to this match, specifically in Belfast. The crowd was red hot for him. Balor got version 2 of his classic entrance, Catch Your Breath, version 2, because it features an extremely awkward cut in the extended intro for no reason other than to save time. It annoys the shit out of me because the build is part of what makes the song so great. But this was an early entrance of the year nominee that will get surpassed sooner than later. Nevertheless, it was great. The crowd was insane. Balor's abs were on point too, definitely did some extra crunches. This obviously main evented. The final 12 minutes of the match and 15 minutes of the show were commercial free without it being specified. That was nice. Dual chants at the open, but they quickly turned to cheering for Balor and booing Punk at every strike. They got their signatures out of the way early, most of them. Balor nearly stole a fall by locking legs after eating a superplex. He followed with a huge tope con hero shotgun dropkick, but Punk avoided coup de grace, hit go to sleep for a false finish. Balor broke Anaconda Vice in the ropes, escaped a second GTS, repeated his finishing sequence with a sling blade, 2 shotgun dropkicks. This time, he actually landed coup de grace perfectly for a 2.8 false finish. Balor countered another GTS attempt into an inside cradle, but Punk came back by rolling a single leg takedown into a second GTS delivered for the 1-2-3 to retain the title. Punk not only extended a hand and lifted Balor after his celebration, he said a bunch of respectful words to him, raised his arm, and even hugged him. Balor gave nods of respect back, and he looked super focused on the title as Raw took 90 seconds, 2 minutes after this to go off the air. They were trying to show that Balor was staring at that title and staring at Punk and had some eyes on everything. So I thought that was pretty interesting. This was a terrific match. It served more to further establish Punk's reign as legitimate and relatively strong, but it also pushed Balor back into the upper mid-card, where contending for and possibly winning a title like this now feels like a legitimate possibility again. No, I am not setting myself up for disappointment. I will never believe that Balor will be heavyweight champion until I see it with my own eyes. I have been beaten down into a pulp over hoping for this. However, if you're WWE creative, you saw his recent promos, you saw his work in this match, you saw the way the crowd responded to the classic Balor, granted, a home-ish crowd, but a huge crowd nonetheless. How the F can you deny all of that? As I have said before, maybe there's something to Balor beating Dominic Mysterio for the Intercontinental title because Dom pinned Finn at WrestleMania last year. Maybe he wants some revenge, maybe not. No matter how you slice it, this was a terrific TV main event. And let's cross our fingers that it actually means something for Balor in 2026, even though we know it probably does not. 4.25 stars. A, this was good, but I should note, it's an A. It was borderline. A-. It was right there. Rio cut an entirely basic promo and then declared for the Royal Rumble. Morgan and Perez answered, trying to wedge drive with Liv, warning Io Sky about Rhea Ripley's selfishness, calling her a backstabber due to their history. Roxy then announced all of Judgment Day was entering, so Rhea wedge drove back at them, only to get her head booted off by Raquel, who landed a Tahana Bomb on Io before Ripley got beaten down 3-on-1. Oblivion from Morgan ended it. Light good here. Almost went light bad. None of the five did anything wrong, and I did like how Judgment Day stood tall as a unit at the end. The three of them fit well together. They actually look like a formidable group. The problem was Rio, reverting back to being like an entrance-only act. Fans go crazy for them, but with the mic in their hands, they never have anything to say. The Raw Women's Division, it's still the best in North American wrestling right now. I can't really speak to Japan. It remains featured well, but it has taken a step back when it was completely carrying the show late in 2025. Lyra Valkyria came across Bayley ranting to herself. She said she's struggling to be positive because they're not building any momentum as a team, and while she hates losing, she hates feeling like she's letting her friend down. Bayley's sadness turned to glee as she turned around, saying Lyra could never let her down, and they have all of 2026 to look forward to. As this segment was happening, the crowd was screaming, "Hey Bayley" in the background. They both got excited, not just about their team, but entering the Royal Rumble. Bayley then hugged her super tight and demanded the same back from Lyra. Asuka later screamed at Kairi Sane for embarrassing her, saying she was at fault for losing the titles and losing last week, putting it in the same vein as Io turning on both of them. Kairi promised that she would make sure Asuka wins the Royal Rumble. She will do anything to ensure that happens. Asuka warned her not to make her yell at her again. I loved the juxtaposition of the relationships in both of these pairings. It was done on purpose this way. I remain focused on Bayley and Lyra winning the tag team titles at WrestleMania. It makes so much sense thinking back a year. I'm not sure whether that will happen or not. It does feel like a potential multi-team match, maybe TLC, ending with Bayley and Lyra on top. We continued seeing Bayley's character and their relationship develop, and the Asuka Kairi backstage segment, it was their best character work in like 2 months. I'm curious whether the split happens soon, Io helps it go through, or maybe they keep this back and forth, but combined, this was good, and it was way better than the prior segment with Rio and Judgment Day. Okay, let's cover the number one contendership qualifiers from SmackDown. Orton versus Miz, 3 straight backdrops into the announce table was a highlight. Miz countered an RKO into a rough skull-crushing finale. Orton then hit his RKO to win. Both finishers were pretty sloppy as they were delivered. Orton winning was never in doubt. I have him as the favorite to challenge for the title at the Royal Rumble. We'll give you predictions Friday morning on the Saturday Night's Main Event Ultimate Preview. Like good for this match. Matt Cardona versus Trick Williams. Cardona cut a promo backstage saying he's like McIntyre and Rhodes and that he left WWE in order to come back, but unlike them, he has never won the WWE Championship. He reiterated that was his singular goal. Yeah, but I don't see that happening. Loud and consistent chants for Trick's entrance. Cardona hit a zigzag. Williams answered with Trick kick. Cardona seemed to counter a bookend with some type of DDT, only to get pounced by Williams, who landed Trick shot for the win. Even on the main roster, the Trick shot finisher looks like absolute garbage. I cannot for the life of me understand why no one ever worked with Trick to come up with a finisher more befitting a guy of his size, his strength, his stature, and you know what? His flash. It's nonsensical. I've been saying it for 2 years, maybe longer.
No, don't like that.
Good match with the expected winner. Fans being massively into Trick was important. It's great to see that there's momentum, behind this. Wyatt Six got a tape promo package all out of their masks with Uncle Howdy telling Solo Sikoa he didn't steal their light, but rather took on the weight of what it really means. He said they will not rest until Lee comes home. It was short and fine. Sikoa later answered in an MFT tape promo package. He stroked the lantern, saying the Wyatt legacy was in his hands and the only way they could get it back was to put the tag team titles on the line. In the meantime, he thought it would help him beat Damian Priest and take the WWE Championship. Going with tape promos from both factions, it's always the best move when it comes to these. It's so much better than when they are in the ring with a mic in their hands. I remain extremely confused that WWE believes this is the best way to book the tag team division while shoving every other capable team into the background, but I will give this a like good overall. And then we got Priest versus Sikoa, another rough pre-match promo from Priest. He said he would do whatever it takes to fight McIntyre again. Sikoa entered with the Bray Wyatt lantern, and I gotta say, it was a pretty awesome look for him and the MFT faction. The way this was shot, the production, the lighting, it was sick. And I could be wrong. I think the London crowd even sang Sikoa's entrance. The idea for this match?
Oh, we got two big meaty men bumping me tonight!
MFT interfered and distracted multiple times, allowing Sikoa to hit spinning solo and the Uso splash for a false finish. The lights went out and the Wyatt Six appeared on the announce table behind MFT, attacking them and evening the sides. It was probably the most muted reaction they have received to this point, and that was in front of a hot crowd. Sikoa prevented Uncle Howdy from taking the lantern, which cost him the match, as Priest hit South of Heaven for the win. Howdy grabbed the lantern after the bell, only to get flattened with Tala Tonga booting him in the face. This was entirely predictable and formulaic. I thought Priest and Sikoa could have done much better bell to bell, and then in the finish, knowing this was a #1 contendership for the WWE Championship, it was just stupid that Solo took his eye off the ball that easily. I said last week that these groups could lose 50% of their members and WWE would be better for it. I don't want anyone to lose their job. But the fact of the matter is they're extras running around and they're taking time that other people need. This gets a bad. Williams later cut a promo saying he was putting the entire brand on notice. Priest stepped up saying he wasn't scared of him. So it seems like they're going to go one-on-one next week on SmackDown, 24 hours before the #1 contendership. A fine match to book, but really silly outside of kayfabe that these guys would want to fight and weaken themselves, considering the gravity of the match that would be ahead for them. The last qualifier was Sami Zayn against Ilya Dragunov. McIntyre shit-talked Zayn backstage, but Sami was confident that he would win consecutive matches and meet him at the Royal Rumble. Drew reminded that he was 11-0 against him all time, but Sami thumbed his nose at that. This was the main event. Hot immediately at the opening bell with Zayn hitting a top rope superplex early and a sunset flip powerbomb later. Dragunov, who got busted open hard way, came back with a missile dropkick more than 2/3 of the way into the corner. Sami got his boot up to prevent an H-bomb, but when he tried to chase Ilya into the corner for a haluva kick, Dragunov dodged him and hit Torpedo Moscow on the apron, 9.9 count. Ilya immediately caught Sami with a powerbomb, but Zayn avoided the flying senton with a knee to the back of the head, hitting an exploder suplex and haluva kick for the win, evening their series at 1-1 and advancing to the #1 contendership match. Williams attacked after the bell, landed a trick shot, and that is who stood tall at the end of SmackDown. Fans actually went from wildly cheering Sami to booing his counter to cheering his victory. That's how over both of the guys were in this match. We assumed Zayn would win last week. In fact, we assumed all 4 of the winners, and that's because they made perfect sense as the victors leading into the 4-way #1 contendership. Williams, standing tall at the end of the show, told you he was not winning, nor should he. The match was an absolute
Banger!
just 2 guys beating the hell out of each other. Not as strong as their first match, but it was an entirely different kind of bout. Actually kind of love that they're now 1-1. It will make a rubber match meaningful in the future. 4 stars, A-, good. Paul Heyman backstage was surprised Pierce had a, quote, great week, but Pierce reiterated that Braun Breaker was suspended, and yeah, you know what? Tough shit. Not only that, Pierce decided he would be there ringside for the scheduled 6-man match to counter any shenanigans from Heyman. Real entertaining back and forth between them. They have great chemistry, the way they play off one another, with Pierce sick of Heyman shit, Paul throwing back jabs at him. Like, booking the show in Belfast instead of London, he said, and the crowd booed. It was great. And I had a smirk on my face pretty much the entire segment, especially when it was over. This was good. Rey Mysterio, Penta, and Dragon Lee fought the Vision. Fun bit early with Logan Paul doing Penta's dance poorly. He also hit a flying blockbuster off the second rope. The Luchas came back with a double tope con hero plus a springboard moonsault simultaneously. Reed did an awesome power slam from a powerbomb setup on Dragon. Austin Theory caught a 619, but got countered into a Hurricanrana. Then he ate Penta Driver for a broken fall, thankfully. Dragon took out Reed with another tope. Theory prevented a Mexican Destroyer with a Fisherman's Neckbreaker. Ultimately, Pierce and Heyman argued on the apron. Logan threw brass knuckles to Theory. The referee caught them in the act. Pierce stole the weapon. Heyman stuck his hand in Pierce's face. The GM flipped out, dropped the knuckles. Ray grabbed them, punched Theory in the face, and Penta hit a Mexican Destroyer for the babyface victory. This completely worked in the segment. The crowd loved the match. The faces looked great. The heels worked strong, dominated large portions. The only detraction was Theory taking the L as his return continues to feel wasted. Yes, Mysterio cheated. That protects him a little bit. It doesn't change the fact the WWE has not capitalized on the momentum it generated from a storyline payoff when he unmasked. Why is he not wrestling some singles matches and getting wins? If they booked him that way, where he was winning singles, sure, he could take an L in this and no one would bat an eye. Ultimately, I'm giving it a good. I just beg creative to think this through a little bit more because it's frustrating as hell. You do a big segment, you bring this guy back in Theory. It looks like he has some momentum. You don't let him cut a promo. Now he's losing matches. What was the point of bringing him back? Like, what are you doing with this guy? I know we talk about how he might be, a spy for Seth Rollins, and Rollins, when he comes back, will start his own group to compete with the Division. I get it. I understand, and that could be great. That's also fantasy booking. We don't know whether that's actually going to happen or not. Right now, Theory came back, and he's pretty much where he was before. And that's frustrating. Heyman later screamed at Pierce for ignoring him backstage, basically threatening that he was about to get him fired as Pierce took a phone call, which was supposed to be the firing, I guess. Pierce later brought the Vision together backstage, saying he wanted Breakker at the show next week to smooth everything over and speak eye to eye, face to face. Heyman assumed it was about the phone call, but Pierce said that it had nothing to do with it. Heyman warned him to be on his best behavior. This was just closing the loop on it all. Nothing much to say, but this was a standout show for Adam Pierce, I got to tell you. Intercontinental Championship, Becky Lynch defending against Maxine Dupree. Backstage while stretching for the match, Dupree saw Natalya, who said she flew all the way over to Belfast to get her back. Maxine was absolutely thrilled. Dupree was so much better here than in their prior match. She was back to working like the improved talent we saw in her run-up to winning the title, as opposed to that horrendous, almost fireable performance she had when she lost the strap. Maxine did a step-off leg drop using Becky's back as a platform. Lynch did a double underhook slam into an armbar into the disarm her. There were a variety of counters both ways. Becky moved a superplex into a spike DDT with a terrific Chad Gable-like handstand sell by Maxine. Lynch removed the top turnbuckle, but got thrown into it herself moments later after escaping an ankle lock submission. When Dupree went to cover after her lone mistake of the match, a roundhouse kick that completely missed. Natty put Beck's foot on the bottom rope. Maxine was blindsided by the betrayal, and Bex immediately hit Manhandle Slam to retain the title. Natty then aggressively attacked Maxine 3 different times with long pauses in between. The first was to garner heat, and it worked. The second, maybe they had to stretch for time. I don't know, but the longer this went, the more luster it lost.
Well, that was a great matchup, but the ending sucked.
Seriously, everything was great until the failed roundhouse kick. I'm not saying I disliked the Natty turn, obvious as it was. We knew it was coming, it makes sense for their characters, but the training vignettes were so mishandled that we never became attached to them as a duo on screen. Natty should have been with her training backstage for weeks on end, gassing her up before her matches, proud of her when she won the Intercontinental Championship. Then this turn would have hit harder. My other problem? Lynch basically lost to Dupree 7 times. The countouts and DQs, losing the title, cheating to win last week, and getting help to beat her this week.
No, don't like that.
Even worse, it wasn't a situation where the match continued for 5 minutes after the betrayal. It ended immediately. I just shared a ton of frustration with how imperfectly this was executed. However, overall, it was good. Like the drop explained, it was the ending that sucked. Beck's got a darn strong match out of Maxine. She's still champion and can finally move on. There's a low-card women's feud of note on Raw, and Dupree was established both as a wrestler and a fan favorite coming out of this. It was successful, but again, imperfect. Jey Uso did his full entrance in the crowd for the 3rd straight week. This time it actually happened on TV, and he said something that he was entering the Royal Rumble looking to win a 2nd straight. I presume Jey has been doing these segments in Europe because Jimmy is not allowed to travel there due to his felony. I'm just guessing. He did shout out Big Jim and Trinity Fatu Naomi. So fingers crossed there's not like a complication with her pregnancy or anything like that. Commentary pointed out as Jey exited that he was doing this on his own and not in consultation with his brother, seemingly indicating it was an ego move. And again, that part of his character has not gone away. Light good because it was not much of anything, and really almost a light bad because WWE flipped tag team titles and has done absolutely nothing since. New Day interrupted Pierce walking backstage, angry that they flew out to Belfast for the Usos tag team title challenge on MLK Day, but it didn't seem to be happening. Pierce told them an opportunity was coming, not a number 1 contendership, but a fatal 4-way to determine the contenders. They obviously flipped out. Pierce is quickly pulling into a major 3-week lead for frontrunner in Ringside Talent of the Year in the 2026 Meaties. Long way to go, of course. New Day getting TV time was a positive, a small one. Like good. United States Open Challenge, Carmelo Hayes was answered by Leon Slater, the TNA X Division champion. Melo not only got a great reaction as soon as his music hit, he got chants as well. Straight fire at the opening bell, with fans chanting for Slater, the hometown kid. They did an inverted springboard Spanish fly. Melo landed a lifted cutter off a twisting takedown. Slater answered with a draping split leg drop, using the ropes as leverage, followed by a perfect Hurricanrana cover for a false finish. He followed with his tope cannonball over the ring post, but Hayes avoided the Swanton 450, hitting first 48 while continuing to sell a knee. Melo then countered a superplex midair into an avalanche cutter to retain the title. Joe Tessitore on commentary talked about giving them a standing ovation, and yeah, that's what these guys deserved. An absolute, unabashed
Banger!
Not only a star-making moment for Slater on the WWE main roster, another establishment win for Melo that continued to legitimize him. I found myself angry that I didn't watch SmackDown Live so I could see this match in full, the part that happened during the commercial break. Not much else to say because nothing was furthered by the results. Slater didn't get a promo or anything like that. But kudos to Slater for stepping up and meeting the moment. Kudos to WWE for utilizing a guy who was stuck in England due to a visa issue, legitimately could not get back for TNA's debut on AMC. They didn't just put him on TV. They put him in a legitimate match for a title and had him look almost as Melo's equal. I mean, when did WWE ever do something like that in the past? Didn't. Anyway, like I said, Slater stepped up. It's really tough to do at his age against a guy he's never fought before. Loved how the match ended with a strong move and not a dedicated finisher. The Avalanche Cutter is way better than Nothing But Net. 4.25 stars, an obvious good. Probably the match of the week over Punk and Balor, but they were close. Javon Evans fought El Grande Americano. That match was stopped during a commercial break shortly after it started. It seemed like Javon was being checked for a shoulder or pectoral injury, which was scary to consider. But according to PW Insider, the match actually got stopped due to a concussion concern. Whether he had one or not was not reported, but he is apparently okay without further cause for worry. That's obviously great news. My guess is they told him to sell the shoulder as the excuse for ending the match so as not to show a potential head injury. Because I wasn't able to watch live this week, I could not figure out the spot that went wrong. I also couldn't find a clip of it. Javon's been running well on the main roster. He will probably flash in the Royal Rumble. I will admit my first thought when this happened was he should have still been in NXT. Not because he's too green or anything like that. He's perfectly capable of being a main roster superstar. He could probably be Intercontinental Champion tomorrow and no one would bat an eye. But he had unfinished business in NXT, and seeing him on Raw in segments, this was kind of a throwaway match. They did those two during commercial breaks previously. It's like, why call him up if you're not going to heavily feature him? And I don't fully understand that. My guess, and I don't have any confirmation on this, maybe his contract was coming close to an end and he wanted to renegotiate, and for the money he wanted, he needed to be on the main roster. Again, it's pure speculation. But that it has to be what happened here, because otherwise I don't know why you call him up when you're calling up Trick Williams, when you're clearly calling up Oba Femi, when the men's division doesn't really need people. It's the women's division that needs people, and only one got called up to, and Lash Legend and Jordan Grace. So I still don't get that, but that's a conversation for another day. Really, it's a conversation we've already had 5 times. Tama Tonga came across Shinsuke Nakamura watching the U.S. title match backstage. Tonga told Nakamura that he had his chance and blew it, and once MFT ensured the tag team titles were in their possession, he would be the one going after it. Shinsuke better stay out of his way. Nakamura, who was dressed in normal clothes for once, answered him extensively in Japanese. No idea what he said, but it affected Tonga, who was looking within himself afterward. Tough to go better than light good without knowing what Shin said, but I'm giving that grade simply for the freshness of the segment and Tama clearly doing something on his own for once. What I realized, I think it was Saturday night, I put on the AAA show. I realized that my translator in my phone, like through Google Translate or Apple Translate, whatever, it can do live transcription. So I played it, or I used it, I should say, and multiple times during that show, and I was able to understand the Spanish promos. So now, when there's Japanese speaking primarily on the WWE main roster, I'm going to use that translate and we'll be able to know exactly what they said. So it's a little bit of extra work, but that's what the Silver King does for all of you. Alexa Bliss backstage gave Charlotte Flair crap over being sick last week, but she confirmed it was a real illness. They did the hard hands and everything, and they were perfectly fine. There was a really funny bit between them where Charlotte claimed she turned down singles title matches for the sake of their team, and Lexi's like, oh, really? Name 2 of them. But that was pretty damn funny given her history. Nia Jax and Lash Legend came through attempting to wedge drive, but Flair shut them up real quick. So we had Charlexa against Julia and Kiana James. Before the bell, Tess tried to get Corey Graves to do the heart hands emote with him at the announce desk, which was hysterical, even though we didn't get to see the interaction visually. There was a terrible chop sequence from Charlotte, followed by her stupid cartwheel lariat. She added a perfect flying crossbody, though, to be fair. Bliss ultimately caught James running the ropes with Sister Abigail DDT, and I'm pretty sure her post-match music was different from her normal entrance. Sounded really good. Jackson Legend attacked the faces after the bell. That pissed off Julia, who tried to go at Nia, only to be held back by Kiana. That was kind of interesting. At least it's a new part of their dynamic. But yeah, I don't know. I think the SmackDown creative has just absolutely killed my interest in these 6 women. Try as I might, I couldn't get myself to care about what was happening. Charlotte's ring work was so insanely poor in this match that it was disheartening. Flair is generally a good wrestler. Don't get that twisted. But she seems to be on a steady decline these days. The Bliss-Flair dynamic, it's actually better than ever, which I never would have guessed after this many months. So the opening segment worked. The match, seriously disappointed. It was horrific, really, the match. WWE, they need to do significant work to get these 6 rolling again, and they simply have not been able to do that. A triple threat number 1 contendership was set up for next week. There's already a title match for Saturday night's main event. So when's that match going to happen? On SmackDown in 2 weeks? I suppose. Light bad here. Jordan Grace fought Chelsea Green. The pop when Chelsea's music hit was ridiculous. You would have thought she was Rhea Ripley. Conversely, Jordan got a solid but mediocre reaction. Fair because she's new, but still. Jade Cargill watched ringside. Grace hit a stretch muffler suplex, rolling Death Valley driver, and jackknife cover for the 1-2-3 in just over 2 minutes. Grace then cut a promo at Cargill, asking if she's done babysitting the title and ready to actually fight. Jade went right up to Jordan, but Chelsea ran at the face, who dodged her, with Jade getting pounced off the ring apron. That allowed Grace to hold the title high and smile to end the segment. Tess sold the Death Valley driver, naming it Direct Effect. It's far worse than Jordan's other finishers, especially the Juggernaut driver. It's better than finishers that other women use, though. Still, it's a downgrade for her because she can do so much better. The match was too short to be meaningful. The post-match promo was short and mediocre. Chelsea involving herself again after being beaten was silly. I'm sorry, it was bad. The women's division on SmackDown stinks, and it's entirely the fault of the creative team and not bringing up the proper wrestlers who should be on the show, making it better. Axiom backstage again confronted Johnny Gargano, who passed off his mask to Candice LeRae. Then Nathan Frazier showed up in one of Axiom's masks and knocked Gargano down, promising to beat him next week and end the whole deal. The only reason I'm going bad for this is that it's become ridiculous from the standpoint that we should have had an Axiom Gargano match a month ago. Yet not only are they still doing basic interactions backstage, now Axiom is not even getting Johnny one-on-one. Why does he need Frazier to fight his battle for him? It's his mask. Why does he even care about the mask when he clearly has multiple backups? I like all 3 of these guys. I'm happy that they're getting regular TV time, but it's basically the same thing over and over.
It's the same thing over and over and over. It's like missionary position every single night. In the tribal chief, the head of the table, we're not interested in that. No.
The tribal chief's not interested in that, and guess what? Neither is the Silver King. Just fight, take the mask, and let's all move on. Feature Johnny as a single, get Axiom back into the tag team division, make them champions. They should be wrestling. There's 2 things that should happen every single week on SmackDown. Carmelo Hayes should be defending the United States Championship only because he's decided to do an open challenge. I wish he wasn't, but okay, now that he is, he should be defending that title every week, or at least in a segment to set up a non-open challenge, match for the following week. And Fraxium should be wrestling every single week on SmackDown, whether tag team, single, doesn't matter. They should be in the ring. So that wraps up Raw and SmackDown from this week. I did forget to mention earlier in the show, I did a couple minutes ago, but I forgot to mention it in the preview, that I watched the AAA debut on Fox television in Latin America. So again, it's a Fox TV deal. It's not the same Fox station that you think of in the United States. I believe it's going to be 1 hour weekly. I think they're going live every 3rd week, and they're going to tape the ones in between. But I watched the entire show. I'm going to give you a bunch of notes from it right now, just to kind of fill out this hour, wrap up the show. And again, Vintage Chris Vanini will be with us on Friday to give all of his WWE takes. We'll be doing a Saturday night's main event ultimate preview on that show. We're going to talk NXT and AEW, a loaded episode for you on Friday. So notes from the AAA debut. Rey Mysterio opened the show, He didn't really say much, but he cut a better promo than The Rock did at the start of Monday Night Raw on Netflix. Ray joined commentary, which was done via satellite with Corey Graves in the United Kingdom and JBL, I presume, in the United States. It worked well enough so English speakers could at least understand and enjoy the show. Ray was obviously better than Conan. There was a familiarity to the formatting of the show with backstage interviews, in-ring promos happening. It was extremely similar to a Raw, SmackDown, or NXT, but it did have a AAA flair. Penta backstage announced that he would be making a major announcement next week. I thought he said about the Rey de Reyes tournament. This is the AAA equivalent of King of the Ring, which makes sense because Penta won that tournament in 2016. He also called El Hijo del Vikingo an asshole. El Hijo de Dr. Wagner Jr. said in a promo that he would defend his Latin American championship all over the world, proving his family was the best in Lucha Libre. Suddenly, El Hijo de Fantasma appeared behind him for a stare down. They shook hands. Fantasma whispered in Wagner's ear and struck him. Then, he removed his mask to become Santos Escobar again, throwing the mic down and leaving. Great to see him back, still holding out hope that he actually makes an impact on the main roster because he is great. Maybe this will just be the opening salvo to get us there. There was what looked to be an awesome animated promo package led by Dominic Mysterio, basically putting himself over as the greatest ever. There were definite AI elements factored into the latter half. The whole thing might have been AI. Most of it I couldn't tell. The end, it was obvious. Someone was like screenshotting it and they found out that, so he was wearing the mega title, Dominic was, in this AI vignette, whatever you want to call it. And however many frames of it existed, it was the AAA mega title. One of the frames had the AEW logo on it. And it's just like, A, how does that happen? Well, the answer is AI. And B, how does nobody in WWE check, especially when you're using AI? But, look, the one thing that had been untouched with WWE through every era, no matter how bad the creative was, no matter how much Vince McMahon had his tentacles in things, the purchase from TKO, the one thing that remained unchanged was WWE's incredible video packages, vignettes, promos, the whole 9 yards. I'm not against, I know everyone screams AI slop, and look, AI art and AI videos and all this stuff, it should not be used exclusively. If you utilize technology to enhance or improve something because it can do something that you can't, or it will do it a lot easier, I'm okay with it in parts. And if they want to use a little bit of AI to make the video stand out, I'm okay with that. But if you're going to do the entire thing in AI, that's insulting, it's ridiculous, and it's clearly lower quality than what WWE could do or has done in the past. That is when it becomes unacceptable. So again, it's like, you're going to drink a Corona. If the AI is the lime and it just enhances the flavor a little bit more, okay, but it can't be the beer. And that's probably not the best example, but it's what I'm coming up with off the cuff here. Vikingo won a number one contendership over El Grande Americano in the main event. Easily the match of the night, of course. Vikingo's manager got ejected after grabbing his client's legs to prevent a superplex. As Americano crawled ringside to grab the metal plate loaded to his mask, a big foot stomped on his hand with Omos getting revealed. Well done camera work for those watching at home. Vikingo then won with the 630. The only real mistake here in the match was Vikingo was like kicking Americano's neck. And you could see and I think hear him too say, yo, stop hitting my neck. Like, what the hell are you doing? And then he did it again. So I don't know exactly what was going on there, but I mean, clearly there was some heat. Americano attacked Vikingo with a loaded headbutt after the bell. He also landed 2 of them on Omos. Of course, Omos did not fall, so Americano took a big boot. And that is the way the show ended. Ray did save with a kendo stick to ensure the baby faces stayed on top. And it looks like we might get a tag team match, like Ray and Americano against Vikingo and Omos. And it's crazy that Ray and Americano are aligned in AAA because they're definitely on opposite sides on Raw in the United States. So that wraps up everything in WWE and technically AAA as well. This week, like I said, we are going to have a loaded show for you on Friday. I'll repeat it once more. Vintage Joint is going to give you his opinions on the main event segments that we talked about, including Drew McIntyre, Jacob Fatu, Cody Rhodes, AJ Styles, Gunther. We'll see if he has any other takes from Raw and SmackDown, maybe stuff on, the CM Punk and Finn Balor match, what's going on with the women. But he will give all of his opinions on that show. We will give you the Saturday night's main event ultimate preview. Silver King will handle any questions and comments that you guys sent in that we didn't get to. I might have a couple additional notes from Raw and SmackDown that I didn't cover because I didn't get to marinate on the shows. And usually I add some stuff when I have, 12 to 20 hours to kind of prepare the show. I didn't have that this week. We'll do all of that. And we're going to talk NXT and AEW. A massive show coming to you Friday morning. You don't want to miss it. We'll have our Saturday night's main event instant analysis on, guess what? Saturday night as soon as that show goes off the air. And then, of course, next week, we'll be back to our regular schedule. Tuesday, the WWE show, the Royal Rumble Ultimate Preview. Thursday, NXT and AEW. And then next Saturday, January 31st, your Royal Rumble Instant Analysis. On the way out, allow the Silver King to remind you that here at Getting Over,
It's all about the 5.
So head over to Apple Podcasts and Spotify, leave a 5-star rating on Apple, take a little extra time, leave a 5-star written review. If you do, we will read it live right here on the show. Don't forget to follow us on social media at Getting Overcast on Twitter and Blue Sky. You get episode drops, news, analysis, highlights. You can send in questions and comments for the show. On YouTube, when you subscribe over there, you can listen to the show. You can watch full-length video episodes across the board at Getting Overcast. Don't forget to visit the link in our profile on social media to join our new Getting Over Slack. Tons of different rooms. You get to interact with fans. You get to interact with Silver King and Vintage. Join our Slack. Have a good time when we're not doing the show. And lastly, please remember,
I happen to love the number 5.
and I hope you do as well, for $5 a month, $50 for the entire year, you can become an official Getting Overhead. Just visit buymeacoffee.com/gettingover. Sign up. You'll get bonus audio, the fastest 5 minutes in professional wrestling, instant reactions to every major show, and exclusive news analysis posts every week. Again, $5 a month, $50 for the entire year, and you support the continuation of what is hopefully your favorite podcast, the Silver King and Vintage. We deliver that performance-enhancing audio directly into your earbuds. Thank you all so much for listening to this unique edition of the Getting Over Wrestling podcast. We will be back with another on Friday, and then, as mentioned, Saturday night's main event, Ultimate Preview. This is the Silver King, Adam Silverstein, signing off and leaving you with just 3 final words. Bye for now.